Hey everyone, want to do my last reviews for the 1 epic and 4 legendary cards from Fraction Alterac Valley. This time I'm not going to mess it up and think some card because there's not a lot of them. So this is a short video and then I'll probably give just some thoughts on what I expect the overall power level of the mini set is. So next we got Whelp, Bonker, Frenzy, and Honorable Kill. Draw a card. This is being compared to to Acolyte of Pain. You can use this to play and kind of fight for board against things like 1/1s really effectively and potentially draw a lot of cards. So can have that similar to Acolyte of Pain effect. But I think people are saying this is really good. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's broken at all. Acolyte of Pain was never a broken card. It was always kind of a, hey, my deck doesn't have card draw. Let's put this in the deck. I think this is a reasonable card. Often usually can get one, but sometimes your opponent is going to stop you from even getting that one. So I think, it is a reasonable stat line. 2/5 is the natural stat line for a 3-mana minion. So reasonable stat line. That being said, I don't think this is something to take home about. I'm gonna go with pretty decent. I think it sees some play, but like I said, it's nothing good getting cut for this, So next we got legendaries. So first we got Hailey, Matron, Protector. After you cast a spell, deal 4 damage, randomly split amongst all enemies. This can be, you can use this with, you could do Conjure Mana Biscuits, save this up, go Conjure Mana Biscuit a bunch, maybe do some crazy damage. In practice, this card is terrible. There is a card very much like this for Warlock, the 8/12 that I tried to make work so many times, where if you took damage, it was kind of the same thing. You played the 8-drop, you maybe did a Raise Dead, maybe you saved up to Tour Guide hit, so you could go tap and make a bunch of 6/6. That card was terrible. This card also terrible. It's just like, you're not gonna, these, I think what's interesting is, and the reality of Hearthstone now is the game is designed in such a way that big cards need immediate, powerful, reliable effects to be remotely playable. Big cards are generally terrible. In a world where you have 1-mana Prize Splendors and Field Contacts, I play this card, I kill maybe one of your minions, you go Field Contact, Prize Splendor, clear this, and then Cold Neophyte. That's kind of the world we live in. So these kind of cards just don't make the cut. You would have to make the game so much slower and so much more, so much weaker to make this kind of card work. That being said, this card is great as a Cenarian Word card. So this is a buff to Ramp Druid. This card's amazing off this. You already sometimes will try and have an Innervate after you go Cenarian sometimes if you're like high mana, because you can use it with the 4/9. Now you can use it with this. So this card's a great buff to Ramp Druid. I'm a big fan. So yeah, this card's actually quite good, but just not in a mage deck. So next, we got Meet Up Pure Light. I think this is Divine Shield, Lifesteal, Death Rattle, Shuffle Fragment into your deck that resummons Meta when drawn. I think it's a cool card. This is kind of like Waxadread, but a few little differences. One, so Waxadread, I think we were talking about Waxadread never really made the cut, but Rogue and Priest are very different classes. With Rogue, you don't have heal. You have to constantly do this for board, but and you already have good win conditions. Priest doesn't have good win conditions and has very powerful control tools. What does this mean? You could put this in your deck, and then it's just kind of value after value. Maybe you get it off one of your Summon a Death Rattle minion cards, and then all of a sudden your opponent's just playing against these over and over and over again. So it makes it just kind of gives Priest inevitability. Sometimes when you're playing Priest, what can be rough about playing Priest is even when you survive and you do this, your opponent somehow can sometimes manage to outvalue you. If you're playing a priest deck anyways, maybe you draw too many cards. So if you're playing the the like kind of the Death Rattle Priest style. I found when I just played it in like early expansion, you'd often draw through your whole deck, and you know if your opponent had a few ways to clear your board, they could actually just outvalue you. But with this card, it kind of gives you inevitability. So it's kind of feel like it's like a Priest Ignite. Ignite, much better card than this. But I think this is, you know, I think these big kind cards kind of generally suck. But one, this also is a holy spell, the Fragment. So it has synergy with the 5/5, summon Death Rattle, draw a Shadow, and Holy card. So I think this card's, you know, could make the cut in that deck. That deck is not a strong deck, but if somehow the meta changes, if somehow the you know some sort of incentive to get that deck on this, I think this deck card slots in really nicely into that deck. Like I said, I don't. I think it's unlikely this card sees play, at least in this expansion, but that's not because of this card. I think it's because of sort of the meta around it. So I'm going to go with decent. I think it's a good card that won't see play. At least, so and we got the two big legendaries, Kazakusan, Battlecry. If you could, all minions in your deck are dragons, create a custom dragon or custom a deck of custom treasures. So yes, so this is kind of what I look at. This is like Archivist Elysiana. It's a it's it's a card that what you can do with it is that you can kind of use it to fill up your deck with sort of more fatigue, more powerful stuff. So ideally get some powerful stuff, but in practice, I just feel like some of these powerful things are not running an 8/8 with no taunt, with no immediate effect. Is just I think you're gonna die, and these some of these treasures they're random, so they're not actually necessarily even better than Archivist Elysiana. You do get to craft the custom ones, so you do get the get rid of the bad ones, but I'm very skeptical of this actually being good. It looks like a fun card that you can play in top four, like at low legend or diamond 5, where you don't care if you lose a quick game. And here I think we have out of cards the stuff that you can get. So let's take a look at this. This is if you're a duels player, you're probably pretty familiar with these. I am not, but so we got Clockwork Assistant, Krusty the Crustacean, Grimmer Patron, Beastly Beauty, Wax Rager, Bubba. So these are these are kind of this is pretty pretty good tempo. Sure, like this card's really good, but like at the end of the day, if your opponent's about to kill you because you fall behind a horde and you top deck a Wax Rager, it's just not gonna cut it. Like Bubba's really good, but so some of these like after 7 minion, Texas minion survives, transform into an 8/8. Like these look cool, but then you realize, okay, what do I do with the rest of my 7 mana? Because you're not playing the card in the late game, and these don't have card draw, so it's not like this easy thing to spend all 10 of your mana. So even you get this card off and you make it work, it's not even necessarily going to win you the game. So like if we go down, you've got some of these like these weapons, but like if I top deck the extortionist, after playing an 8/8, how is that going to help me? So it's a thing of like some of these are kind of cool. If you get Wand of Disintegration, that's a pretty good one. That's a nice, like you play that, you come on board. So there are some powerful effects, and you do get to create a custom one. But I think the point is just because you have some of these powerful effects doesn't mean like you're only drawing one a turn. So you're in top deck mode. Now maybe you saved some card draw. I don't know how you saved all this stuff and got to the fatigue, but it's just going to be very, very hard for this to actually work effectively. And I don't think this is even necessarily better than random cards from like Archivist Elysiana. So these aren't good enough win conditions, you could play this and still lose the game, even if your opponent doesn't kill you, even if you play it on an empty board. And when I want to run a giant 8/8 do nothing, I want it to be pretty much auto winning me the game. So I think this card's, it looks real cool, but I think it's garbage. Sorry. It's, everyone who wants to believe, can believe and be like, oh no, you do this, like these cards. And even a big difference is like in the game now, the way the devs have designed the game, fatigue is not something that they want. They don't want decks going to fatigue. They want decks with actual like the later the game goes, the more reliable the win conditions are. So you're not going to have these games where, well, I'm running out of cards, but I play Kazakusan and now I get a bunch more cards, and now I have more fatigue and more value. That's just not the way the game is right now. What you do is you play that, and you're up against me. I'm playing Ramp Druid, and you think you're about to win because you got all these powerful things. And I go Yashiraj and hit you in the face for 20. Then maybe you do a silence, and then I go Yashiraj again, and then maybe let's say I didn't kill you. Then you top deck the 1-mana silence a minion, deal 3. Like no, so it's a thing of I think a lot of people want to believe because this is a fun card. I can't say it's not a fun card. But the reality is I like when fun cards don't auto lose you the game. Like you're going to try and play this deck and you're just not going to get to play this card because now you could run this in Ramp Druid and at the end of the day it does corrupt the strongman, but I would rather get the cards from my deck than these random treasures, and this thing of, well, now am I not going to am I only going to run dragons just so I can get these powerful effects? And what happens when I play those cards because it replaces your deck and then I don't have enough value to win, and they win the game. So just letting you guys know why this card is not a good card on the competitive level. You can go meme around with it. There's going to be some really fun videos where the meme streamers are going to be doing some really cool stuff with it. Fun card. Good? No. So, and finally we got Raid Box Onyxia. Rush immune while you control a whelp. Battlecry summon 6/6 2/1s with Rush. So this is very strong. This is a good 10 drop. So it can get you right back on board. It can make a giant board. It has an immediate effect. It can take a value trade. Very strong card. I'm very curious though, like, because I feel like this card, if Ramp Druid is, or some sort of Ramp Druid is a thing next expansion where we have the rotation, this card looks very reliable. But I still am kind of looking at this and I feel, is this going to, because it's the only card deck I feel this card could make the cut in is Ramp Druid. But what do we cut? Do we cut Yogg for this? I don't think so. I think Yogg is a stronger card. Now this is, maybe it's not. This card has a fixed outcome where Yogg has a variable outcome. So, and this card is not scalable where Yogg is scalable. What does scalability mean? So Yogg, I can beat a board of all 8/8s, but I also can beat a board of 2/2/2s. I can eat it all, and Yogg actually gets better the more stuff there's on, potentially, because you can eat more. Where Onyxia summons you a bunch of 2/1 rushes. And it's a thing of, well, if your opponent is like doing okay, like let's say they have, 2 4/4s and a 6/6. This card's insane in that spot where this is much more better and reliable than Yogg. So depending on, kind of what the meta is, but I could see this replacing Yogg, but I also could see this not making the cut. If you think this is an auto include, you're wrong. Still an interesting card, and I think if the power level goes down and Guff is still a thing, if big Druid, like big ramping Druid decks are still a popular thing in the meta, I could see this card sticking around. But that being said, like I don't think this is as busted as people think, and I think there are, like I said, more powerful things. Now, who knows? This might see play in if you have some sort of value deck, like I don't know if like a priest would run this. I know Draconic Studies. This is fantastic off Draconic Studies. So you're gonna play priest. You're gonna get this. But even then, you get the raise dead problem. But I think this is a good card. But is it a great card? That's the question. And that goes to my last thing. So this is the last card. I'm going with decent. And if you notice, I had a lot of this is decent, very little broken this mini expansion. What does that mean? If you watch my marginal cards video, I think we have a lot of marginal cards. So they're cards that somebody's going to sub out the card and maybe makes the deck 0.5% better, but maybe makes the deck 0.5% worse. I think you have to compete. You're at the end of an expansion. You want a card to be playable. It's got to beat a lot of other cards. And when I'm looking at this expansion, there's like 1 or 2 cards that I actually think are really strong. And you've got a lot of marginal ones. And you do have a few cards that could be whole new deck enablers. So, for example, like I talked in the comments, that Demon Hunter 5/4, that could be enable an entire new archetype with the Stargazer Lunar effect. The Warlock card could enable an entire new archetype, and the Quest Hunter card, the 2-mana spell, looks really good in Quest Hunter. So it could really take that archetype. But other than those 3 cards, I'm not thinking this is going to be a big meta shakeup. It's going to be fun for a few days, and I think people are going to go back to the old stuff. It's just, I think realistically, just none of these cards have powerful, unique effects. They have, for the most part, like I think like the Warlock card, the Demon Hunter card, look, those cards are good, but most of the cards are very marginal. So I don't see, I think if you want to play, if you want to try something out, go ahead, but don't feel like you're going to need every one of these cards is going to be a big game changer. I think a lot of the stuff is just going to be kind of, hey, fun new card, and I think also the one big thing that this might change at the meta is, like I said, Draconic Studies, Cenarian Ward, Resizing Pouch. There are a lot of really powerful discovers, because this card is insane off Resizing Pouch. Like, instead of, often I, don't want to go Deathwing, but now I can go Onyxia, and I can reliably clear the board, and I don't have to take the risk of Yaxaron. So you can see, in some cases, this is actually better than Yaxaron. Like I said, since it's worse. But let's say if I get Yogg and this, well, now I can say, well, I don't want to take the risk of Yogg, and they have an 8/8, and they have, a bunch of 2/2s. I'm going to wreck that board, So you can do that with this card. So overall, I think a lot of powerful discover effects, interestingly enough, but very few cards that are going to change up Constructed Standard. I think the meta is going to be the same. Maybe I think if anything, Ramp Druid gets more powerful because of Resizing Pouch and Cenarian Ward buff. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the mini expansion. I might make a few. I'll be playing it tomorrow, Tuesday on stream. But I don't expect to play much for the rest of the week because Masters Tour is later this weekend. But I hope you guys like that. And yeah, happy mini expansion day tomorrow.